Hello again, boys and girls. Today, our fruit of the Spirit is gentleness. And the fruit we have for our memory to remind us of gentleness is a peach. A peach, you have to treat it so gently. Like the skin is really thin. Oh, look, this one's leaking. It bumped against another one and got bruised. So it's like a little owie. Now it's not brown yet. Oh my goodness, look, rub that. You can barely touch them, especially when they're ripe and delicious and ready to eat. You know, there are some people who are gentle people. Gentle people. They aren't tough. They're soft-hearted and tender, and they're easily hurt when somebody says something to them that is unkind. But they're so soft-hearted, they're not going to say mean things back. They're not going to, gee, I'm going to make you feel bad too. They just take it. And then there are other fruit, like a watermelon. Now that's thick-skinned. You can't hardly hurt it. And there are some people who, you can say anything to them and they're not going to take it seriously. If you say something that maybe you're angry or something, or you're just joking, quote, saying something you really want to say, but saying, "Oh, I was just joking," they're not gonna take it on, and they might make fire right back at you. But a gentle person is not like that. A gentle person is caring and kind. Yeah, there's a I showed you earlier. There's an album about the fruit of the Spirit. And these are the words from the song. Gentleness and love go hand in hand. Against hate and lies, they take a stand. They take care not to hurt. They never push or pull someone's shirt. They speak softly and don't yell when things don't go well. They don't call mean names or ever lay the blame. They keep control when they are mad, and they look for the good and not the bad. Yes, they go together hand in hand, spreading hope across the land. The kids are holding peaches. I found this picture that went with these song words, and I just said, "Oh, how perfect." But we were gentle among you. 1 Thessalonians 2:7. So, do you remember last week it was faithfulness? And do you remember that I said that this picture was a hint about what was going to happen this week? Well, here we go. So, the story is from the New Living Bible and the New Living Translation. And I like it because it's a little simpler to understand. And also, it will play back on my phone. I can listen to it instead of just reading it. So remember last week there was Ruth and Naomi, her mother-in-law. Now Ruth was not from the land of Judah. She had moved there with Naomi. And Ruth was from the land of Moab. Now there was a wealthy and influential man in Bethlehem named Boaz. And he was a relative of Naomi's husband, Elimelech. But remember, Ruth and Naomi were both widows. Their husbands had died. And Ruth used to be married to Naomi's son. But Naomi's sons died also. So now Ruth treated Naomi like a mother, and Naomi treated Ruth like a daughter. They loved each other a lot. I loved my mother-in-law like that. She was like the best mom I ever had. Even though they had an unusual kind of family, the Lord loved them and always took care of them. So one day, Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, let me go out in the harvest fields to pick up the stalks of grain left behind by anyone who is kind enough to let me do it. And Naomi replied, all right, my daughter, go ahead. So Ruth went out and gathered grain behind the harvesters. And as it happened, she found herself working in a field that belonged to Boaz, the relative of her father-in-law, Elimelech. That was Naomi's husband. Now that's called gleaning, and it's pretty much a practice of agriculture. There's always like a little left, and people who cannot afford to buy food, there's like an allowance for them to go and glean what's left before they plow it all back in. And that's what Naomi was doing. She was walking behind the harvesters, gleaning what was falling on the ground that they weren't going to use. So while she was there, Boaz arrived from Bethlehem and greeted the harvesters. The Lord be with you, he said. And the Lord bless you, they said back to him. Then Boaz asked his foreman, who's that young woman over there? Who does she belong to? And the foreman replied, well, she is the young woman from Moab who came back with Naomi. She's been hard at work ever since, except for a few minutes rest in the shelter. Well, Boaz went over and said to Ruth, listen, my daughter, stay right here with us when you gather grain. Don't go to any other fields. Stay right behind the young women working in the field. See which part of the field they are harvesting, and then follow them. I have warned the young men not to treat you roughly. When you're thirsty, help yourself to the water they have drawn from the well. Well, Ruth fell at his feet and thanked him warmly. Oh, what have I done to deserve such kindness? I am only a foreigner. Boaz replied, yes, I know. But I also know about everything you've done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband. I have heard how you left your father and mother and your own land to live here among complete strangers. May the Lord of God Israel, under those wings you have come to take refuge, reward you fully for what you have done. I hope to continue to please you, sir, she replied. You have comforted me by speaking so kindly to me. Did you hear my phone go off? I forgot to turn it off. The pages are together. On with the rest of the story. Well, at dinner time, Boaz called to her, come over here and help yourself to some food. You can dip your bread in the sour wine. So she sat with the harvesters, and Boaz gave her some roasted grain to eat. She ate all she wanted and still had some left over. Now, when Ruth went back to work again, Boaz ordered his man, he said, let her gather grain right among the sheaves without stopping her, and pull out some heads of barley from the bundles, and drop them on purpose for her. Let her pick them up and don't give her a hard time. So, where did you gain all this grain today? Naomi asked. Where did you work? May the Lord bless the one who helped you. Ruth told her mother-in-law about the man in whose field she worked, and she said, the man I worked with today is named Boaz. May the Lord bless him, said Naomi. He is showing his kindness to us as well as to your dead husband. The man is one of our closest relatives, one of our family redeemers. What's more, Boaz even told me to come back and stay with his harvesters until the entire harvest is completed. Oh, good, said Naomi. Do as he said, my daughter. Stay with his young women right through the harvest. You might be harassed by other fields but you'll be safe with him. So Ruth worked alongside the women in Boaz's fields and gathered grain with them until the end of the barley harvest. Then she continued to work them through the wheat harvest in the early summer, and all the while she lived with her mother-in-law. Naomi had a good idea. Boaz has been so kind to you, Ruth. I think it would be a good husband. You do not know the customs of our country, so I would be happy to tell you what to do if you would like me to. Well, Ruth did want to marry Boaz. He was older to her, but he was a kind man, and she wanted Naomi to help her. Well, Naomi told her to go to the fields where all of the barley was being harvested. Boaz would be sleeping near the grain garden. Ruth went to quietly watch until she saw Boaz go to sleep for the night, and after he was asleep, she was to go lay down at his feet. Don't worry, Ruth, Naomi said. In our country, that is a way for a woman to tell a man that she wants to marry him. Boaz will understand and he will tell you what to do. Not like here, huh? Ruth did just as Naomi told her. That night, when Boaz was asleep, she lay down near his feet. At midnight, something woke Boaz up from his sleep. He looked down and he saw Ruth down by his feet. But he was happy that Ruth wanted to marry him. I guess he had a crush on her too, huh? Well, the very next day, he said, I would like to marry you too, Ruth. But first, we must follow the custom of my country. I am Naomi's relative, so I can marry you. I will have to buy back all of the lands that Naomi's husband used to own. There is one other relative who is closer to Naomi. If he chooses to buy back the lands and marry you, he has the first choice. I must go to him and ask him. That is the law and custom of our country. Boaz went to the city gates to speak to the other relative. He said that he wanted to buy back all of Naomi's husband's lands. That would mean he would be called the kinsman redeemer. This would cost a lot of money. The other relative thought very carefully. He did not want to buy all the lands. He did not want to marry Ruth either. Boaz, I will give up my right to be the kinsman redeemer. I will follow our custom and give you my sandal. So if they were going to seal a deal, if they were going to do what they said they were going to do, he goes, I give you my sandal to prove that what I'm saying to you is true. It's like a contract that won't be broken because you have the paperwork, in this case, the sandal. Then everyone will know that I'm letting you be the kinsman redeemer. You can buy Naomi's lands and you can marry Ruth. Boaz was very happy. He bought back all of Naomi's lands and told her that he would always take care of her and Ruth. And Boaz married Ruth. Now later, Ruth had a baby boy. She and Boaz called him Obed. Naomi loved Obed and helped take care of him. Now Ruth and Naomi's family was different. Now there was a father, a mother, a baby, and a grandma. God still loved them and took care of them. Many years later, after Obed grew up, he had a son named Jesse. Jesse later had a son named David, who grew up to be the king of Israel. Many, many years later, one of Ruth and Boaz's descendants was Jesus Christ. Remember how I told you a couple weeks ago about Rahab? Well, her son's name was Boaz. Remember I told you that from her descendants would come Jesus Christ? Well, this is one piece of that puzzle. God had it all planned, even before the world was made. Who and what would bring the Redeemer, and who would be his descendant? Who'd he be the descendant of? So, here are the questions. Who did Ruth want to marry? Yeah, Boaz. How did Naomi's relative show that he gave Boaz permission to marry Ruth? Do you remember? It was a silly thing to do for us. He gave him his shoe, his sandal, to say that, hey, what I have said is true, and you may go take care of it yourself. What? Oh, this one's hard. I didn't even remember this. What was the name of Ruth and Boaz's son? Obed. Yes, yes. So today your coloring page looks like this. It says at the bottom, moreover, Ruth, the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead on its inheritance. In the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren. And from the gate of his place you are witnesses this day. He had the shoe in his hand. He does it in this picture, but he's talking. He's talking to the other guy, the one who gave him the sandal. So you have the picture from last week. I sent it along with the rest of the lesson. So you'd have her in the fields gleaning. Remember what gleaning is? It's when the harvest has taken place and there's still crops, there's still food on the ground. And those people who can't afford to buy food are allowed to go and pick up what's left of the harvest before it's all cleared off and made ready to plant the next crop. God is faithful, and Boaz was so gentle. Are you a thin-skinned person like me? I'm like the beach person. I'm easily bruised, but I tend not to respond. But I have friends who are thick-skinned, and they can just joke and laugh and not get their feelings hurt. Sometimes I wish I was like that more so. Anyway, I am so glad that God is gentle with us. He gives us instruction. And he teaches us to be kind and not to say things that hurt people's feelings, to be gentle with each other. Oh, Lord, thank you so much for loving us. And with that love, giving us that gentleness, that ability to be kind and show your love to people. We are so grateful, Lord. Thank you so much. In Jesus' name, amen.